New 72 Radio, the voice, views, and visions of the collective.
Good morning and welcome to Healthy View, Healthy You. And it looks like we have just dropped Stella, so I hope she's coming back pretty soon. I am here with my colleagues, Rebecca Shaw and Stela-Pavic, and we're going to have a really fun discussion this morning. We've had an interesting summer as the year has flown through, and we're already beginning into the season when the weather changes. Some of you already have very cold weather, and we're going to have some here in South Carolina later this week. And we thought today we would talk a little bit about how you stay healthy during this season. Do we have our own plans? What do we do? So that you might start to think a little bit about how you stay healthy through the winter, particularly through the season. So, Rebecca, do you want to start off with that and give us a little bit of idea of how you're healthy at this time?
Yeah. Well, yes. And I can share that I think many of us agree that the holidays, Thanksgiving, probably starting with Halloween if you have kids, Halloween, Thanksgiving, and, Christmas, Hanukkah time, a lot of people feel like that's the busiest time of the year. So you pile on all of those social obligations on top of work and managing your normal everyday life, and it can get very busy. And I think one of the things that I try to do is be very choosy about the extracurricular activities that I go to, and also more mindful of my diet. I'm not one of those people that likes to get to January and then have to undo what was done in the last 3 months of the year. And so when I go to events, parties, etc., I'm really focusing on connecting with people and enjoying the festiveness of the experience and less on the food. And just really looking at it as a time to really nourish the connections, the community, the tribe, as you were talking about, that we have amongst each other. And I think that's, for me, the most important thing. Honestly, my personal opinion is if we could just eliminate the whole gift giving thing, I'd be a lot happier, because shopping is another stressor for many people. Mm-hmm. And I've really come to the conclusion in the past few years, especially with having 2 teenagers, that making memories is far more valuable in the long run than the gifts that you give. So one of the things, like my mother and my mother-in-law, you get to a certain age and you pretty much buy whatever you need for yourself, don't you? Mm-hmm. So we do things for gifts like baking cookies. For my mom, she has severe arthritis. So I will make several containers of chicken soup for her, chili, just meals that she can pull out of the freezer. So that's one of my recommendations. If you have anyone in your life who you're appreciative of and you want to share a gift, and is to cook for them and freeze food and then give it to them on the gift giving day. And I think that's a really thoughtful gift. Or if there's chores and things you can do for that person, repairs that need to be done, and maybe they just they have that honey-do list but no honey at home to help them with it. You can be the honey at large, and my mom and my mother-in-law just love that kind of thing. And
it's a great idea.
That's what we tend to do.
But what about your children, Rebecca? During this season, how do you help them stay healthy?
Well, one of the things that we do is we just stick to our pretty much our food regimen. We don't go overboard on, we don't buy a lot of candy. We don't buy a lot of, making cookies and things like that, because honestly, they get enough of that out and about at the parties, through friends at school, etc. So that's one of the things that we do. And then the other one is really just because we do some gift giving, is really having them think about what they could do for others that would be unique and thoughtful, how they can show love, care, and appreciation during the holidays. And then the other thing would be just really thinking about how we can make memories this holiday. Again, I don't know about other children, but I know my kids could not tell you what they got from me for Christmas 2 years ago.
Oh, that's a good point. Actually,
but they remember. They remember the traditions. Like my kids and I, we hang the ornaments on the tree together, and we pull out all the old ornaments, and we collect ornaments whenever we travel on vacations together. My daughter has one that's like a little taxi from New York City, and we have ones that we've gotten in Mexico. So those are the kind of things that I like to do that are more about tradition and time together.
Mm-hmm. Now that makes a lot of sense. Well, Stela, you did disappear for a minute. We're glad you're back. Good morning. So this is Dr. Pavic, who's with us as well. Stela, your family, because of the European background, how do you approach things? And also, since you're an allopathic physician, is your approach to the season different, or how do you think about staying healthy at this time of year?
As everybody else, I need to learn how to behave. During the Thanksgiving times, during the Christmas times, particularly given the difference between how I was raised and what I find out here in the United States. So it took me a little bit more time to, number one, understand what Thanksgiving, the emotion behind the Thanksgiving, and how huge gift actually I had from the friends from Chapel Hill of introducing me and inviting me, six of us, every single year on the dining table. That was always so festive, with a candlelight and with all that is actually appropriate Thanksgiving feast or more. By the time I start to organize my Thanksgivings for my family and very close friends, and it's become the time of the joy, times of the connection, as Rebecca says, the time of the sharing the memories, time to show up the love and appreciation. We know that a woman is in the kitchen most of the time, pardon for those men who do their part. Those are the time when we have children and cooking and inviting and being just together, being happy. Being happy is the meaning of these holidays that are in front of us. Christmas took quite a bit of adjustment. I started to do American way when the children were young. We would rush day before in Walmart and buy all of the plastic toys that you can imagine that we couldn't afford over there in Croatia to buy. So we were actually healing our complex, my husband and I. And that would be, the things that I start to do. But as the children grows older, I try to sort of go back at a time of my family in which actually Christmas tree would be decorated the night before the Christmas. It would be the time of the specific food to be bring on the table, and on the Christmas would have a own specific food. So I don't buy a present to anybody anymore because I found myself exhausted, unhappy, not appropriate for what Christmas was supposed to be. It's the birth of Christ and sending the Holy Spirit and love to the whole world. So I decided to really spend and teach my children in this moment to approach both Thanksgiving on one way as well as the Christmas on the spiritual level, of the time in which we as a family get together with the hands-on friends, family, and try to enjoy nature, try to cook together. Uh, and that's the time of indulgence for my family and everybody else, in which we will have extra cookies. We'll get together as a woman, make lots of different cookies, and I will bring for both of you some. You will see what I'm talking about. If I have my Croatian and Bosnian friends and Brazilian friends in my home for the making those cookies, those are also beautiful time of the connection and showing the love, showing the respect. The five strong women cooking cookie together and still be friends.
Oh, Stella, that sounds like fun.
That's the fun, darling. So this is how I approach this. That's what health means for me. The time in which I do not watch up a lot, same as Rebecca. I used to have a January 1st, like I'm going to start to eat healthy. Not anymore. Every day is actually a day to make a good change, a small one, and including food, including exercise, but the most important, including how we're thinking, our thinking process. We should remember those emotions. And the thinking process of those times, and Thanksgiving and Christmas are those times, where calm, confident, in a loving atmosphere of the home and friends. Try to remember those emotions and carry them in every single day in our life. Life is busy, we have a lot of responsibility, but we are here to be happy, to be content, to send the love, to send acceptance to every human being and animals and plants that we are meeting in our life. So actually inviting all of us to remember why we are here and to try to teach the children after Christmas and Thanksgiving, tell me, how did you feel? And if they feel good, says, carry that feeling, remember that feeling for the next day and every day. You will lose it as time goes quicker, but remember the core of the feeling. If they do not feel good, go and explore why and how we can change that.
Oh, I like that, Stella. So, that I like what both of you have said about how important the traditions are to you. And so my thoughts were slightly different. And that was that I sort of had this major awakening. And it might have been when I was in my 40s. I can't remember exactly. But for several years in a row, I got sick at Christmas every single year. And finally, several friends kept saying, not together, but just at odd times, oh, you're sick again? You were sick last year at this time. And so it became a real wake up for me. And I thought, okay, this is a choice. Do I want to be sick? Is there something that I need to change? And so I think one of the first things that I would suggest anybody to do is take a look at your own regimen, your own health, how you're taking care of yourself, and listen to yourself. Is there anything that needs to be changed? And a lot of things had to change for me. I found that in my the eating, I would bake a lot of things because that's how I grew up. We baked a lot. We baked cookies and cakes, and of course, if they're around, you eat them. And sugar reduces your immune system, so there was an issue with that. And then the children, I loved gathering people together, so I would plan a Christmas party, and that would bring more stress. But I also was working, so I would overcommit to what I could produce by Christmas for clients, and then I'd have to sacrifice time in order to get it done, which meant sacrificing the family, or because I certainly was going to make sure the party was excellent. So I sacrificed the aspects that really are the most important to me, which is being with children, being with our families, and being able to express those emotions and being happy and carefree. So there are several things that I would suggest that you take a look at your calendar in June and July and think, what do I want to do this year? Or even in January or now, and say, what do I want to have over the holidays? What sort of feeling do I want to have? And I am right in sync with both of you as far as what we have in the house now. I only bring into the house what I'm able to eat. If I bring in a treat because Trader Joe's or Whole Foods or the grocery store have all these fabulous things, and I think, oh, I want to try that. and I bring it in, then I eat it. And sometimes I have had rituals where I throw an entire cake into the garbage can and realize that's a huge waste and I shouldn't have even bought it. But for my own well-being, I get rid of it. So if you could spend some time just thinking while you're driving, although pay attention to the road, think in terms of what are you doing with yourself or for yourself and for your family that you might want to change or that you could shift now. So for instance, some of the things I've made a major shift in doing is, like Rebecca, I'm gluten-free, and I have been gluten-free probably for 10 or 12 years, something like that. I haven't had red meat in 20 years. I haven't had caffeine in 40. Well, coffee, not caffeine. I eat chocolate once in a while, and I have caffeinated tea, but even caffeinated tea dries me out a lot. So I love iced tea, but I just try to avoid drinking it because I'm drier as a result. So that's me. You have to know your personal makeup. Finding things to offer for people to drink is because there's such camaraderie in having something to drink. Then herbal teas work for me when you have hot tea. And in the summer, I bring out really great juices and water them down and put lemon with them and that kind of thing. So there are ways to find other things you can offer and still have a social situation when you invite people over. But there are a few more things that I think are pretty critical. How much sleep are you getting? And I find in the last 2 weeks, my body has only wanted me to have 7 hours of sleep. And a couple of days I've been tired. And for years I got along with 6.5 hours. I now want more sleep. And so it's important. I woke up this morning at 5:30 and realized that my body had had 7.5 hours of sleep and I had gone to bed at 10. And so I'm thinking, all right, I need to get to bed at 10 now in order to have enough sleep because I'll get up and get going in the morning. So pay attention to your habits and do pay attention. Stella told us she skipped breakfast this morning, and Rebecca was eating her breakfast as we got on our call. And so make sure you have your regular habits. It's good to have a little breakfast, something to give you energy until you have lunch. Make sure you eat what you're used to eating that keeps your body fueled for your energy and high energy in order to interact with your family and address anything that comes up in work. And just think of that work and family balance that's so critical to being in the world. And then think about joy. What is it that gives you the most joy? And I'll tell you, one of the things that gives me the greatest joy is to feel healthy at Christmas now, because there were many years that I wasn't. And the other day I was talking with Stella about finding a place here in Charleston. There is now a place that does the intravenous vitamins. And I used to do those regularly in Arizona. I would go have a pack of vitamin C, or there were times when I would just feel my energy was so low, I wasn't sleeping well, I was overcommitted in a number of areas, and I would go get a combination of vitamins. They call it a cocktail, and I thought that was really funny. It sort of felt like something was going to blow up, but it was vitamin D's. It was all the B's for stress and some C's. It wasn't too much. It takes about a half an hour, and you sit quietly while all these vitamins go into your body. And I will admit, for 2 or 3 months after that, I just feel like nothing could get into my system. I was just a lot healthier. So think about what you feel comfortable doing. Some people wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. There are others who want to take homeopathic medicines to be prepared when they travel. I do that. I take some sort of anti-flu things when I travel. So if there are germs and people are sneezing, hopefully they won't come into my body. So be proactive about your health and think in terms of how you feel good about your everyday. For your family and for your children, make sure you have tools at your house that are helpful. So make sure you have that quick homeopathic remedy that you might use, or some, I don't know, the medicines that people use for allergies. And if you have something there that you can use, if you hear the beginning of some sneezing or a flu coming in, then act on it immediately. Don't wait, because with that, you can help your family continue to be healthy. So I'm going to address one other thing about the emotions, Stella, and I think those are so critical. This is a time when emotions are high, and statistically, this is a time near the end of the year that more people leave the earth. And I don't have the statistics with me when I say that people die. There are elderly who die. This is a time where it's a finality, and I think we created that in our world, but it does happen. So the emotions are very intense. If you have a teenager who's just been through puberty, pay attention to that. If you have a teenager who's struggling and going through things, be at home. You know, just decide that's your gift to yourself this year, to be close, to be able to go out and grab a lunch with that teenager. If they're on holiday, plan things to do with them. Even if you're going to hear free music at a church, or there are plenty of free things around, just look for them. And you don't have to spend money to have time with your family. So I'll, with that, you know, sort of move on again to Rebecca and ask you, Rebecca, you know, when it comes to this time of year, let's talk about appreciation and thankfulness and gratefulness and gratitude and the differences of them, and how we might approach that ourselves.
Yeah. Gratitude and appreciation is a huge part of my mindfulness for everyday living. And, you know, every single one of us have challenges that we're going through, either at work, at home. And it's really easy for many people to get caught in these cycles of anxiety because they're worrying about what they don't have or what's going wrong in their lives. So one of the things I highly recommend to try, if you don't already, is focusing on appreciation and what you're grateful for in your life. So sometimes what happens with the subconscious mind is we think if we worry about something bad happening or something we don't have, that somehow we're going to solve the problem and we're going to avoid the bad thing happening, or we're going to figure out how to get this thing that we don't have. But for many people, that creates more anxiety. So you can flip it. And when you're in a tough moment and you feel overwhelmed and you feel run down, tired, any of those negative emotions, confusion even, that to me is the indicator to begin to look around in your moment and find what you can be grateful for. And there's been times in my life where I was so stressed out that my gratitude was the soft pillow on my bed at night, or the hot running water in the winter. But the more and more you practice gratitude and appreciation, the more easy it is to find those things that you're grateful and appreciative for. If you're frustrated with someone that you have to interact with, a family member, a coworker, a neighbor, and there's really nothing you can do about the situation, I challenge you to begin to think about times in the past where you were appreciative of that person and things were flowing well, and to go to the thoughts that bring you more peace, and to think about what you love about that person, what you like about that person, what you're appreciative of that person for. In your everyday life, if you could stop when you're feeling anxious or frustrated, and you know, there's a big difference between going into that thought for 5 minutes versus a minute, and then flip it and just start asking yourself what you're appreciative for, what you're grateful for in any aspect of life. If you do that enough, it will completely change your life. You'll feel better. You'll be working from a different baseline in your daily life.
Oh, that's actually really good advice. Stella, do you practice that?
Yes, I would like to just a little reflect on the book of your discussion that you just had. The main point that I would love to send our listener is that talking about discipline, scheduling and planning, how it is important for every human being, particularly in the time where extra effort was asked from every single one of us in the responsibilities, our job, family, friends, and during this Christmas time. So I would remind myself and everybody else that the scheduling in this world is exceptionally important. That doesn't mean that you every day is spontaneity or things that they come along, but have some kind of the calendar pre-scheduling plan, including the activities, food habits, eating, family planning. I do believe is the key of the what actually Rebecca is talking about. The key time to be merciful to yourself. Number one, forgive yourselves all of your small mistakes that you are going to do or you are doing through the day, through the life, through the Christmas season, in order to open your soul to be merciful and to be able to forget the people who are around you and or the people that you do not get well together. We're missing in this society mercifulness. Because this is our fight and flight mechanism. As we go through the life, particularly during this beautiful season that is in front of us, we are actually easy to attack. We are easy to defend ourselves. Actually, to look on the person in front of you who is rude, has all kind of the different attitudes toward you or your family member or your point of view on the life, to just to try for the second look at her of the person like oh my God, small child, let's help him walk through the room or somebody, and hoping that somebody will also help you walk through the room or through the problem, because you're not ideal on your own to yourself. But it is requiring one of us research ourselves, present and understand emotions that are happening to you, and grab them on the time. Those positive emotions, again, focus on them, remember them, and carry them through every second of your life today. To those emotions who are negative, grasp them, acknowledge them, see where they are coming from, and try to find the healing patch for your emotion, meaning for forgiving to the person next to you, forgiving to yourself as one of the most important things. And first things that you have to do if you want really happiness in the life, be merciful to yourself. Allow yourself to be lazy. Allow yourself to indulge in different kind of the things. But also do not forget the schedule, planning, and of the success. The real success of the life is actually finding the moment of the happiness as you can. Everything else is just something that are temporarily and are not carrying actually the weight.
Those are really good words, Stella. And we are nearing the end of our half hour. It just flew by. So we hope you'll join us the second Wednesday of December, and we're going to have a surprise conversation at that point. So any other words, ladies, before we say good day?
Carry the love to the world, ladies.
Oh, that's great. Carry the love to the world. Thanks so much, and we'll see you in December.